Day 9, 2023. I do not change my t-shirt because indeed I'm a poor creditor, I'm alone, single, and I'm trying to have the satisfaction of my rights according with the law and the Constitution, sourced in my right and totally according with the Constitution. But nowadays seems that people is considering that I'm doing a conjuring. But the semantic term and epistemological meaning, conjuring, means at least two. How a single creditor could do a conjuring criminal system? The cretinismus brasilis is something observed in Brazil. Not our privilege of Brazil, but something we have in Brazil. You take a look, Brazil, at your own constitution, Article 5, guarantees fundamental of individuals and groups. Considering this credit, even a single creditor, the interest is beyond the creditor. We have stakeholders, for instance, and it doesn't mean be associated with, but only has the interest. For instance, I have the interest in Brazil, and it doesn't mean that I'm associated with Brazil as a criminal system. Right, Brazil? Article 5 says some guarantees. Guarantee number 5, the compensation by violations, indeed affecting interest, that even without the association at the very first moment, they can have this as interest. And when they got associated, they are not associated with me, but with the right as request to do the satisfaction of this. See, in this form, kind of a unique thing as a position. Can you understand? In other words, a moral entity or organization that's not an association as itself, because it can present itself as something. If you do the uncover the view theory, you will find a single creditor. That's me. You will check that no one can have rights, suppressed by creed, philosophical conviction, political position. But you did, Brazil. In the same way, it's free the expression of intellectual activity. You suppressed Brazil. When you, for instance, do installation of partition at my mobile, to be embedded as something clandestine and steal the data I put, I have a unique microphone to hear my music, so you have a conflict. And then you will be kind of requesting the instruments, and the phone as a single one will shut down until I do the fresh start, and you have the insertion of the partition starts to function, to be functional. Right, Brazil? When this happens, is this your license? And the Android, the case go to California arbitration, but you are using the misuse of state power, so it transferred to the antitrust justice. But the antitrust justice in general will have this open to the International Criminal Court, and as a single creditor, considering the interest on it, which it doesn't mean in a very first moment financial, will request a position of the International Criminal Court. Right? Because we are all at the same position as victims of Brazil and beer misuse of power to cover the power misused. It doesn't mean an association. For instance, we don't know each other, we don't shake hands or are at the same parties, but we have, let's say, some kind of common interest as legal accomplishment. including the rights and fundamental guarantees of individuals and groups disrespected by Brazil. A group is formed even without association. When you go to the stadium, you check that you have groups there, but they are not associated, only having a common position as the crowd as the cheers of fan of a sports entity. And then as a single fan, anonymous, when I do the suggestion 10 years ago and you stole it, I could get this at that time and walk down here to put you in a position you are as a debitor via this criminal system, groomed to face the consequence probably in the next 24 hours, I think. The Article 5 of the Brazilian Constitution, Guarantee 11, says that the house can't be violated. It's the place you live in, your private living. And also, it can't be violated the secrecy of mail communication, data, which implies not necessarily the transference of data, but something stored at my machine, even without access to the internet. It's data. You do this when you put the session as a parallel partition on my machine or mobile, even when I'm not using the World Wide Web. But your cognition is below the belt. So you do all things wrongs and default all things, and then you will say that I'm doing a conjuring, even as a single creditor. Can you explain this? How can we have a conjuring as a single person? Then we will check that the Guarantee 13 says that it's free. The work you do you respect this, Brazil? Because you do not respect my freedom of thoughts, my intellectual activity. How can you respect my work? This kind of things, Brazil, implies that you violate your commitment as Republican, which is the institutional solidarity by the ties on budget as users on Article 74. The commitment you violated by your own decision and self-determination is on Article 4, Guarantee number 9, cooperation between the nations to the progress of mankind. You are suppressing your own conquered rights and guarantees, Brazil. And when we complain with you, you use this as criminal intelligence to do the annihilation, which implies takes all opportunities as defense or resistance of the victims or player is doing the complaint, even a single individual, research creditor, family group with ties by name and blood sourced in Portugal, for instance, or a company, or even a common interest as having the legal accomplishment and the decency of the Brazilian institution and state. Interaction with all others at the G20 in a global order until 197 unveiled 198 as paramilitary activity and criminal groups as transnational organized crime, 199 for instance, as elector misused by the vulnerability exploited during the electoral period by the invitation crossed with scheduled events like FIFA and requesting social benefits and broken the budget, and in the end the Constitutional Committee. Right, Brazil? Toast to the Brazilian cretinisms. This time something exclusive of the Brazilians uses the budget for criminal purpose, like all other control instruments. That, for our good luck, got unveiled as this kind of mobilization and movement that in the end will use the parallel thing as something regular to chase down the formal requests according with the law and the constitution, and now having the conjuring and the institutional solidarity as misuse of power to cover the power misuse to default the rights and guarantees of the people as on people, foreigners. It's on Article 5 of your own constitution. Right? And this credit, even as the interest as having the accomplish of essential elements at the international financial system and economy, which implies the labor force Brazil. You will never will deserve a Nobel Prize. I expect some. And it's not as Brazilian. Nothing down here conquered or to be achieved is as Brazilian. Brazil. Violations made in an area that has no excuse to be, but it still remains. Why? The question is to the International Criminal Court. And the movement today, the America Discretionary Debts, Phase 2 or Part 2. Quite simple to get, quite clear. We did the first presentation according with the request. American head movement, we will move forward by this. We could understand that the structure of debt indeed is divided in two things as debit and credit. The debt is equal to credit, which implies the supply and demand, and in the end, the investment saving curve and liquidity money curve. This was what we get. We could understand that the debit was divided, and the debt was divided as has a division. I must remember, as something that you can request or something. It's divided the debt in two movements. I will put the name as D plus the credit. I don't remember now, but we have a proportion here. See, erase my memory, bring this kind of things. The debit is something that you can request as obligation and receive as obligation, I think, but will give me a proportion plus the credit that can I will have a break here, review and move forward. It's here. It's the discretionary debts and fixed debts. I'm not gonna make a new post or video because it's very simple. What we have here will be to have a bit more than 15 minutes. We will have kind of accord with the model. It's this model here. We will just update. The budget has a debit as something fixed or something discretionary. Indeed, they two both will give me the debit that is associated with the credit and give me 100%. I could understand that the relation or proportion we had was considering the debit as argument fixed or the debit as argument discretionary, right? Then we will check that the discretionary fixed or the discretionary debit divided by the relation debit and credit indeed will give me the total of debit as proportion I have. right? Right. Here we have segmented debit. That is the main purpose this time. To understand if the relation I have the discretionary debit is bigger than the fixed debt, I must have a question. The fixed debt is exclusively expenditure with the American people. Am I American society using the budget properly to satisfy your welfare condition as nation? For instance, I got my violation of rights made in Brazil with PIA and having Brazil as a major offender. Is this happening in USA by the fixed debts lower, including the interest, as the discretionary debt, which belongs people, which implies people not necessarily associated, like I do not receive any money from USA and I will never receive, because my right is a compensation. You are doing no payment to me, but the delivery of an object as an obligation sourced at my rights. And is this proving the interest as management of American things if confirmed? A treasonous act as financial act, because it will bring the not domestic tranquility described at the American preamble, because the American people will be a second interest at the American management of the financial system. What do you have to tell here, America? This question is up to you.